Okay, in this tutorial I want to show you how you can set up a building, a vehicle or a rock. Let's start with the building. You can set up your environment manually, like drag the ledge onto some buildings or suited places, and then you actually are good to go and can detect it and can jump on it. Important is that the forward axis of the climb point are pointing towards the character. If he is pointing away from him, the character will rotate and align with the forward vector. So keep in mind that you have always facing the climb point to the character, and also the up vector should also point upwards. If you want, I don't know, if you want a wall and you decide to jump on it on both sides, then just duplicate the climb point and rotate it on 180 degrees and you're good to go. Now, for example, if you approach from this, he will align on the right climb point. If you approach from here, he will on the other side. That's one thing you can do if you want something like this. Okay, now up to the building. As I said, you can do it manually or you use a third-party asset like I do here. I use yet another prefab painter for it, and yeah, let's use it. And now the ledge, disable, and here disable this. Now rotation. If you want to know how you can use it, you can go for tutorials for this asset or for the documentation. So now set it up like this. Now let's see. Yeah, if I go for the ledge, it's set up correctly. And now we can go and use the brush size. Let's say 1.3. 1.3 is the threshold for a small climb. Let's use it here. Now I can just drag and they will align correctly for the range. Okay. And if you are not happy with the position, you can always adjust. For example, here. So if you don't want to show the ledges, you can just select them and disable, and you won't see them on runtime. And then you can just move like this. Of course, he isn't aligned properly. You can always go and adjust it like this. It's basically it's a mesh collider here, and it's best to use this asset with simple shapes like a box collider or a cylinder, because the shapes are predictable. For example, you've seen when I move too close, then he makes this weird stuff. That's probably because of the wall detection, and yeah, the feet aren't aligned to the window. Yeah, that's probably because of the mesh collider. So, and that's for the building. Okay, now for the vehicle, how to set up. I will show you another technique for setting up. It's actually built in the spline asset from Unity. And if you go for spline and create a square, let's tuck it under the truck, reset the position. Now we can adjust the square. Something like this, and something like this maybe. Okay, and we don't want it close. Rotate it, and now we add the spline instantiation script on it, and items to instantiate are the ledge. And now you see what it does. Now we want to rotate the objects on minus 90 degree, and if you want to adjust the spline, you can always go into the edit mode and adjust it like you need. You can also adjust the spacing. That's 1.3. Just like this. If you have a corner like this, it's recommended that you don't put them too far away. For example, if you are on this ledge here, you won't detect, or he probably will detect, but the animation won't fit well because he goes through the outer corner, and then he could go into the mesh and it won't look good. So if you want to fine-tune this, you can bake instances, and now you can move them separately. For example, this here you can move there, and you can do it manually. And this one, we don't need this. We just duplicate it here, and now it should be alright. Like this should work. Let's see. Yeah. You see, if he goes into the animation, he will go on the outer corner, and if it's too far away, he will clip through the mesh, and that's probably not what you want. Okay. If you have problems to set up a environment or something at the climb points, you can always enable the debug mode in the animal component debug and then states. I try to cover all the informations on why he don't go into this state. For example, if you set up a climb point like this and you want to climb and he exited and you want to know what's going on, you can always go into the console and into the console and try to find why he's not staying in the state. For example, here the distance to the ground is very small. Checking if we are grounded is true. So what this said is, when you are in this state, or when the character is in this state, he will exit automatically because the ground is too near. Yeah, that's, just keep in mind. Try to figure out in the console what the character is doing. Okay, now I want to show you how you can set up this cliff for the climbing state. You can have a similar approach with the spline tool, for example. You add an empty game object here on this rock, add a spline container, go into edit mode and draw the spline. Okay, now you can close the spline. It will close the distance between the last and the first point. So now you can add the spline instantiation script and add the ledge prefab on it. And now you see that the axes aren't even. For example, here they go on to the left and here they go up. That's not what we want. You can, to correct this, you can select all of them and set the rotation to 0. And now every y-axis should be pointing upwards. And then you can rotate on it so that the forward axis are pointing outwards like this. Now you can set the spacing, and now you should good to go. What you should keep in mind is, for rocks especially, for example, if you want to set a climb point like this, you see he got no space beneath this climb point to hang on it. It's this slope here will prevent him, and depending on your settings, the climb state will exit if you are reaching this climb point. So keep that in mind, that the the slope beneath the climb point shouldn't go over the threshold you set here for the detection settings, wall, and here we have ignore wall slope detection, but if you disable it, then you can set a maximum of a slope you can have beneath, because if you have it like this and you ignore the slope, the character will fighting with the mesh, and that won't look good. So if you don't want to have it, then rather exit or don't set a climb point on this crucial edges. Okay, let's see. Okay, that's looking good. You see this fighting, what I mean? That doesn't look good. So if you want to prevent it, then disable the maximum wall slope and set your climb points properly. And that's it. That's how you can set up the environment